Alright, well, next up we're onto the interior. I bought these seats and they're in pretty rough condition, but I actually reupholstered these myself as well, all off YouTube tutorials. So I've measured the width of the top of it, and it'll just fit inside the car. And so hopefully next time on my next project I'll definitely do a bit more sewing, so I'll do a video on that on the next one. But I've also got the matching Momo steering wheel, which I very lovingly and labor intensively made that to match the seats. So also in the interior for the gauges, I'm going to be running speed hut gauges. So I've got the speedo and attack and the fuel, and then also this is just some stuff I got off Facebook Marketplace again, because buying these is crazy expensive, even though secondhand they're still very expensive. But the I got the water temp as well, and the oil pressure. There's also a boost gauge, but I'm not going to be running a turbo, so I'll probably replace that one with a clock further down the line. But currently during COVID, shipping prices, it costs more to ship it than it does to buy the actual gauge. And then lastly, to finish it off, we're going to be putting in a roll cage, but that hasn't turned up yet, so here we go. Alright, well here's my plan. This is the bracket for under the car, for under the seats, which I got with the seats which I reupholstered. They are apparently for a Skyline R32, these rails. So I'm going to cut all these off, all the mounting points, and then how I have to mount it on the floor here is that I've got one plate on top, which is a doubler plate, and that's going to have a 8mm hole in the middle, and I'm going to put two 5mm bolts on either side. And then I'm obviously going to cut this down. This is a bit massive, but I'm going to make some washers for the bottom and weld it onto the bottom with a hole in it to put my bolt through. It's going to go through the doubler plates into the floor, so that's how I'm going to mount the back into the floor. And then I'm going to come in with some square tube. Obviously I have to do a little bit of fitting and stuff, and I'm going to mate it to the rail here. So there's going to be a lot of measuring, making sure there's enough space left and right, make sure both seats fit, and then have it at the right angle for driving position. And then that'll be the seats, and then onto the gauges. So first things first, let's get these seats in. Alright, well there it is, there goes my my seat rail, so that's ready to go. Next is I've got to make 16, well 15 because I've got one, 15 doubler plates, so one each side. 4 makes it 8 times 2, 16, so I need 15 of them. And here goes a piece of 3mm plate that I've had sitting around. The missus says I always hoard too much, but you know, it comes in useful, so here we go. Alright, well, I've cut up all my double plates here, so so next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack both of these together, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to screw my drill up my 8mm hole and my 5mm hole, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to number them, because this top one is obviously now it's going to match the bottom one. So yeah, these won't be interchangeable, only be done in sets. So that's what we're doing next. Alright, well, there goes all my double plates ready to go. So next up is making the place where the bolt's going to go through. So the bit of square stock is going to be welded at a 45 onto the round, and then the bolt's going to go through the round into the floor to mount my seat. So that's next up. Right, well, I'm definitely decided on this Diablo blade now. So Diablo blade is meant to be really good for cutting metal, and you have to have a slow cut saw, which is a lot more, it costs a lot more than just a normal metal cut-off saw. And the blade itself was like over 200 New Zealand dollars, and I haven't even cut that much, but man, it's leaving some massive burrs on everything. It gets worse as the cuts go on. I'm using cutting fluid as well, so yeah, I probably wouldn't buy one again. It's a lot of cost for something that deteriorates pretty quickly. There's my opinion. Alright, well, there it is. There goes my cutout washers, which all came out pretty ugly, but that's alright. So now just got to weld them on to the piece of pipe. Alright, well, there it is. All my plates are welded to the bottom, so now that's for my bolts, going to go through there and then through my double plate in the floor. And then next, this is going to be the bracket for the seat to sit on. So next up is getting the right length, do another 45, and that's my height for the seat. We're getting there. Well, there's my interior in place. The steering wheel, seats are in. It's all pretty tight, there's not much space for the handbrake. Gear linkage is still a bit tight as well, but I'm held up from a suspension cone in the back. So, but I'm happy with that height. So next up is welding a bar across the front, across the back. Well, now I've got my rails in on both sides. So next up, I'm going to use the old ichrometer, and I want to have my square come down at a 45. So that's going to come down and meet the two round pieces, which is going to go onto the ground. So that's up next. And just like that, seats are in, all bolted up. Done the top pad, not the bottom pad yet, but that's the interior. I just had a half cage turn up, so I'm going to be welding that in. That's another kit. So that's it.